Today I want to talk about something incredibly eye-opening, and that is how does a community, a nation, develop into an art mecca? What does it take for a city to become an art hub? Better yet, what do we have to do as individuals to be able to dedicate ourselves to the lofty activity of making art? When we see that a place has flourished or that an individual has been able to dedicate so much of his or her life to the making of creative endeavors, does that mean that that person is quite special? Does a city that have colorful walls and galleries and museums, does that city have anything extra special in comparison to other places where you barely find any manifestation of creativity? Both at the public level and at the individual private level, you can certainly come up with very similar conclusions. There are some very basic needs that you must first cover in order to be able to flourish into someone who can manifest his or her ideas. If you want to dedicate yourself to art, I suggest that you really pay attention to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's a pyramid-shaped kind of a diagram. The reason why I talk about this diagram, which is mostly common in circles that deal with psychology, sociology, because I do believe it applies. I believe it applies based on my observations of art history. You often say this city lacks creativity, instead of actually looking at the root of the problem. At the individual level, Maslow's hierarchy of needs truly applies much more than at the collective level. So let's take a look at what this pyramid actually teaches us. At the very bottom of the pyramid, you have your physiological needs, what it takes for a living organism to stay alive. You need to have breathable air, clean water, food, shelter. You have to have a place where you can rest your head at the end of the day. At the societal level and at the individual level, at this very bottom of the pyramid, there's very little artistic expression. What comes next is really the safety needs. Security of body, security of property, the kind of a certainty that you won't suffer injury or robbery. So if there is fear that you will run out of money, of food, that someone might invade your property, rob you, kidnap you, if all of that is absent from your worries, from your concerns, then at this point, you might start seeing some creative investments, some creative endeavors happening. Still, if these basic safety needs are not met, it's very unlikely that you will see the manifestation of art at the individual or societal level. At the third level, you have something else that is really more complex. We're talking about the concept of love, the concept of belonging, a sense of connectedness with your peers, with your family, with your community. That is 100% where you see the flourishing of the arts. You might think of ways to embellish your living experience by perhaps having a community gallery. Maybe if you have enough people who have been collecting or making art, you might even have a small museum. You have all kinds of artistic manifestations at this level. If you're talking about a big city, there will be investments into the arts. People and groups and institutions who will defend the fact that for community, for society to be even better, there has to be greater room for art. It is important to note that at this third level of the pyramid, this is not really anything lofty or a great accomplishment. It is still just the midpoint of this pyramid. There is a lot more than you can accomplish. What I want to mention at this point is this: that a lot of communities that are well developed, they don't move past this stage because there's the thought that this is the last stage to reach in this pyramid. But no, there's a whole lot more to accomplish. After this stage comes the building of self-esteem. How does the building of self-esteem occur? Very simple. Think of competitions, think of contests, think of ways for you to measure who has accomplished a greater level of mastery in a skill, a greater amount of knowledge and depth. There's a great level of admiration. They are building a society where achievement is appreciated and people want more. But what is the ultimate goal? Maslow's hierarchy of needs teaches us that there is an actual last stage. The last stage is one of self-actualization. This is very interesting because it is at this stage where you understand the value of ancient wisdom, various faith-based traditions. You have artists, you have shamans, you have priests, you have philosophers. This is really where the frictions that we have at the social level, economic level, moral levels, philosophical levels, the things that will often reveal our very primitive challenges in nature, they're gone. That is a stage that I would argue many nations, many people are yet to accomplish. Maybe in today's world, there are very few communities that can say they have accomplished this level. Anytime you value the learned class, deeper thinking, that life is a lot more than accumulation of wealth, but that as important as that is the accumulation of knowledge, then perhaps you have reached that self-actualization level, or at least the awareness that that is where you ought to be. And what I want you to know is this: how close are you to self-actualization? That is my question.